Hey guys, Ryan here with the first proper review of 2014. So to kick off the year, let's start with what is arguably 2014's first Kickstarter success story, the Banner Saga. In 2013, a company called Stoic, composed of 3X BioWare devs, went to Kickstarter to pitch a turn-based tactics RPG meets kind of Oregon Trail survival game with this epic Viking-inspired story and this really unique and amazing art style, and the game was called the Banner Saga. So the question is, did Stoic deliver on their promises?
When the Banner Saga opens, you are informed the gods have died and the sun is perpetually in the sky. You start playing the game as Udin, a tax collector for the Varl Keng, going to the town of Strand to collect tribute from the human governor. In your time in Strand, a Varl and human caravan traveling across the continent from Arborong, the human capital, to Grofheim, the seat of Varl power, passes through and you join them. This is when the Dredge, a giant monstrous people made of stone and the Varl's ancient enemy, begins to resurface from the northern wastelands. Vognir, the Kender, the Varl equivalent of a prince, is slain by Dredge, and Hakon becomes the new leader of the caravan. Hakon becomes the first of two major characters you play as. The second character you play as, Rook, is a hunter whose village Stroger is destroyed and chieftain killed from Dredge, flooding from the north. With the help of his Varl friend Ivor and his daughter, he must lead his clansmen across the frozen wastes, away from the Dredge hordes, to safety, wherever that may be.
During your journey, gameplay is broken into two major sections, the caravan and combat. The story and world building occur almost exclusively during the caravan section of the game. During this section of the game, you and your clansmen will be outrunning a quickly spreading darkness from the north, as well as an ancient enemy, the Dredge. You'll also be visiting a variety of world locations, meeting new people, forging and breaking important alliances, making life and death decisions, and determining the fate of an entire race.
Story is pretty much exclusively told through text. There are a few parts of the game with narration that really show how well this game hits its atmosphere, but the vast majority of the game goes without any voice acting. This is overall a big plus for me, but the narration was so great that I still wish there was a bit more of it during the caravan segments of the game. However, my biggest problem with modern role-playing games like Mass Effect is that your dialogue options never line up with the voice actors' lines, which at times can result in totally unexpected responses, and the Banner Saga doesn't have this issue. The responses to your dialogue options are pretty much in line with what you would expect, and the game does a lot better than BioWare games in avoiding a black and white morality.
Story overall, though, tends to fall short. The Banner Saga is intended to be told as a trilogy, and as such, the first entry suffers a lot of the same problems that trilogies' first entries tend to have. You're introduced to this beautiful, interesting world, but most of the story is used telling you required background information to understand the overarching story of the trilogy. You're also introduced to a ton of characters, but receive little to no narrative payout for any of them, because there's no time to build any depth to these characters in the 8-hour time span.
The one place where the writing doesn't fall short is the world building. I'm a huge lore whore, so the world building is a big deal for me. It's why I loved BioShock Infinite, but hate Call of Duty. It's why I think Morrowind is a vastly superior game to Skyrim, and it's one of the key reasons I became so enthralled with the Banner Saga. During the caravan segment of the game, you can visit the world map, a hand-drawn map of the world, listing the locations you'll visit in the game, as well as other key locations in the world. You can click on any of these locations, of which there are a ton, and read a paragraph or two of lore on them, and receive a lot of insight into previous events in this world. When paired with the dialogue between the caravan leaders and their followers in the camp, the Banner Saga builds a really rich and detailed world. Even though the character writing falls kind of short, their designs in the lore is so interesting that I just need more.
One of the things that helps really bring together the Banner Saga's world is the stunning art. The Banner Saga is likely going to be my favorite looking game of 2014. Animated by Stoic Studios and Powerhouse Animations in Austin, they brought back that old school animation, making the Banner Saga a completely unique looking game. There truly is nothing else that looks like it. In fact, the Banner Saga's art, especially the backgrounds, really reminds me of Eyvind Earl's work, which is why I hope the character named Eyvind is like a sly nod and not purely coincidence.
The majority of this game is rotoscoped, with only some motion capture, and is just masterfully animated. The backgrounds in this game are beautiful, and the caravan segments when you pass the Godstones are truly stunning. The music in the Banner Saga is equally as fantastic. I listened to the soundtrack while writing this review, and I couldn't help but feel like I was helping resolve some epic struggle. The soundtrack for the Banner Saga is composed by Austin Wintory, the same composer for Journey, and the soundtrack perfectly pulls together the game's atmosphere. The music is distinctly Norse-inspired and just the right amount of eerie and ominous to match the mysterious serpent threatening the world and the torrents of dredge.
The quality of art in this game carries over into the combat. Combat animations are gorgeous and provide the game with good game feel. The animations give characters' attacks this heftiness, this meanness, likely as a result of somewhat exaggerated movements on attacks. When paired with great sound assets, the combat feels visceral and mean instead of slow and timid like other tactics games, making combat a joy to watch. Combat is also surprisingly deep, mostly due to one fairly notable mechanic.
Characters in the Banner Saga have two key stats, armor and strength. Armor is used to determine how much damage a character absorbs and what the hit chance of other characters are on them. Strength is used to determine how much damage a character deals and how much health they have. As a character is damaged in combat, their strength is reduced, bringing them closer to death and reducing the amount of damage that character can deal. In most tactics RPGs, you're encouraged to kill the strongest units before killing the weaker units, or vice versa. But in the Banner Saga, you're encouraged to constantly switch targets to equally weaken the enemy forces to reduce the damage taken by your own. It's a mechanic that wouldn't work in a lot of other tactic RPGs where there's a heavy use of magic, or in the case of futuristic RPGs, guns. It's a mechanic that I think belongs distinctly to this game.
The Banner Saga has built a compelling world that hooked me from the very first minute, something most games don't do. The characters are kinda shallow, and the story's generic, but the world building is so excellent that it makes up for it, and the promise of 2 more installations into the series should allow for them to build the characters they introduced here and make them more meaningful.
The game really only fails in that story is designed to be told as a trilogy, and as such has a lot of build-up with no payout. Combat, world building, and stunning art though really elevates this game and allows it to get past its flaws in narrative payout. With that in mind, the Banner Saga is a great first entry into the Promised series and a great way to have kicked off 2014. I give the Banner Saga a score of 7.5 out of 10. Even though the Banner Saga isn't the best game I've played in the last few years, it is a standout. It's a very special game, and I have a lot of faith that my problems with this game, most of which are narrative related, will be fixed with later installments.
Thank you all for watching. I'm going to be trying to do one of these at least once a month because it should allow me to actually review all of the games that I'm excited for or enjoying throughout 2014. Unlike last year where I reviewed like one game every 4 months and didn't edit it and it was just real bad. Yeah, so expect more stuff like this once a month. And here's to 2014 being a way better year in gaming than 2013 was. It's certainly already looking that way. I think the Banner Saga was an excellent way for me to start this year.